Back then, you did do-it-yourself punk rock tours. I was in a band that started like going up and down the coast and going other places. School wasn't really like, 8:30 to 3 o'clock. School wasn't conducive with me having a job, because you have to have a job if you want to be in a band. You got to buy gear, you got to rent, whatever you got to do. So I was the last of 8 kids too. I think by that time my mom she saw that I was when I said I'm going to leave school, I was going to go to alternative school.
Right. But they didn't have a lot of those when we were growing up.
They had Nova.
Okay,
and
up in Seattle.
They had this place called Nova. So I got into Nova, and I didn't really go. That's when I kind of became a lifer in music. Once I left like high school was when I said, okay, well, you've made this big move, you better be all in. You can't just quit school and be some loser dude. So I really went all in on. I was playing drums then, I was playing guitar then, I was playing bass then. I was trying to figure out which was gonna be my one. Was I gonna be a drummer? About the same time, I'm about 16 years old. Heroin came into Seattle. This is 81, late 81, early 82, and it really kind of this brown tar heroin came in to Seattle and kind of took out everybody I was playing with. It didn't hit me. I had done drugs and stuff earlier, like really young age, like middle school. You probably did too. It's our age group.
12, 13,
yeah, 12, right.
Pot. And we moved on to acid.
Acid, sixth
mescaline,
grade.
Yeah,
mescaline. Remember?
Mescaline.
And cannabinol.
Cannabinol.
Remember that stuff? We had everything. And in Seattle, we could pick mushrooms on the way home from school. We knew how to discern Liberty Caps from every other mushroom. By the time you're 13 years old, you're expert on like mushrooms. So by the time I was 16, I kind of went straight edge. I'd had like a really bad acid trip. I had a really bad mushroom trip. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I started having panic attacks, and I thought it was from all the psychedelics. So I wasn't like going to AA meetings. I just stopped everything, and I was just so into music, and that was my drug. About the same time, heroin came in, and it took out like guys in my band. This band, we were poised to make that next move. We toured with Black Flag, we toured with Dead Kennedys, which is you're on your way up in that day and age, right? My roommate that I had a house with, he got strung out. At 18, my girlfriend got strung out, and at 19, I was at this point. So it's 1984, and a friend of mine who was strung out, he said, "Man, if you don't leave now, you got to go somewhere. You got to get out of here. You're like our hope." My little group of friends, and my car, I didn't think it would make it. It was a '71 Maverick, a slant six engine. I bought it for $300. Like, okay, New York's 2,500 miles away or whatever it was. LA's 1,200. I've been to LA and played. So I headed south. I moved to LA.
Now, what would you do the first couple months in LA?
I mean, I was busy. I got a job at Black Angus, first day I was here, like on the way. I drove in, this is how green I was. I drove into down over the Grapevine. Got into Northridge, the 405, right? Got in Northridge, I see lights. I must be in LA. I didn't really know the layout of LA. I'd only played like the Cathay de Grande in Hollywood and some other, So I'm here and I pull off way out there and get a job at the Black Angus. I'm in LA. I had a resume. I was a cook, I had a good resume. I got a job right there. I'd been driving for whatever, 20 hours. But when you're 19, you can do anything. So I got a job after that shift.
You worked right then? You started?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, man. Got a job. What are you going to do? Oh, give me some time? No, you start. Okay, I got a job. I only had like $260. So I didn't have enough to get an apartment. I knew there would be a little swing time in there. So after that shift, an older cook, like a frontline cook, I said, how far is Hollywood? He asked me if I could give him a ride home. I'm like, I'll give you a ride home. Where's Hollywood from here? He said, Hollywood, man, that's like 25 miles away. So he gave me directions, and I went to Hollywood that night. Slept in my car for the first couple weeks. Like washed at work. Finally was able to get an apartment at this really cheap place behind the Chinese Theater. The Olympics had just left LA, the Summer Olympics of '84.
Olympics, yeah.
So what I didn't know, now I have all this great leisure of retrospect, right? This great knowledge of retrospect. The '84 Olympics, what the LAPD had done is cleaned out LA. You ever heard about this?
Yes, I was here. I came before the Olympics.
You were here.
I came and my uncle said he'd get me a job with the phone company.
Okay.
For the Olympics. Now, comedy was not on my radar.
Right.
Nothing. Entertainment was not on my radar. I liked movies, shit like that, but there was no way it was on my radar. And I came, I think I stayed a week, and then we got into a beef. He said, I don't think you really want to stay for the job, and I left. But then I was here, and I was just in shock. I had come to L.A. a lot when I was a kid to visit my uncle. My mom would send me to Disneyland and SeaWorld and all that shit. But when you live on the East Coast, your impression of L.A. is beaches and blondes and bitches. And next thing you know, I'm saying I'm in Glendale, and it looks worse than Newark, New Jersey.
Right.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is a pipe dream.
Right.
There's a beach, but then there's all this other land that looks like a bomb fucking hit it,
Yeah.
So with our disagreement, I got the fuck out of there, but I had to go around in buses, and I saw how filthy it was. Like I went to Hollywood one day with him. He had to pick up music or something, and I looked around Hollywood, and I'm like, this is fucking Hollywood. Like,
yeah.
It was just awful.
Yeah. So it's well known now, but the cops came in and they cleaned out Hollywood and cleaned out the places where people for the Olympics would be. They want to make LA look great. And so I guess they shipped like homeless people to Arizona or Orange County, got the hookers out, got the drug dealers out, cleaned it up for that, whatever it is, 2 months that the Olympics are here. And unbeknownst to me, I moved right after the Olympics, September 14th, and the cops just left. And so everything came back into Hollywood. It's like the Wild West. And but the good side of that was rent was super cheap. Nobody wanted to live there. And so I got an apartment it wasn't cheap to me. $200 a month was a lot of money. But I had my own place. It was cockroach infested. There was the police helicopters all night long. Like and it'd be right next to my apartment. Whatever's going down, I hear people running by my window. There's bars on the windows. It was culture shock from Seattle for sure. But so I got a job. Yes, what I did. There was a newspaper called The Recycler, which was you could get everything from washing machines and lawnmowers, cars.
It's still around, isn't it?
It might be still around.
And it comes in like little magazine things as you're walking on Hollywood. You can open it up
right. And they had musicians wanted musician things in the back, and I went through this like, what am I going to do? And there was a guy named Slash. Needed a bass player. I had a bass. I may have had a little amp. Influences are Aerosmith and Fear and Alice Cooper. I'm like, that's right up my alley. Punk rock was the hardcore kind of coming in, taking punk rock out of what it originally was, which was this kind of open thing where everybody was invited, into this more restrictive, uniformed thing. By '84, punk rock was turned into this other thing. Well documented. So I looked at this Aerosmith, Fear, Alice Cooper. The guy's name was Slash, and I thought my name's Duff. He's a punk rock guy now, looking to make whatever's next ours. And I went and met Slash and Steven Adler down at the Cantor's restaurant. Wow. They had a bottle of vodka, and we just talked about music. I had blue hair. They had this long hair, and it was that again was kind of culture shock. I'm sure I was me walking in with like this. I had this, my pride, I still have this black and red, like John Shaft pimp, long leather jacket and blue hair. And it had an Anarchy A on the back of the jacket, Classic.
We're going in like fucking Marines. You understand me?
Welcome to church, motherfucker.